going to be kind of leading us through some Q&A, but if folks have questions throughout, please feel free to interrupt. So thank you, Kelly, for being with us. I think we're just going to set up the microphone and the camera.
Should we turn the lights on as well?
I think that would be great. Can someone help us?
Can someone at the back grab the lights? Thank you.
They can hear you. That was for the computer.
So, okay. We'll have to just go back. Okay. Oh, does the clicker work from over here? We have a couple of slides too. Well, so thank you, Kelly, for being willing to share your story with us today. Can you talk a little bit about why you're so willing and open to do so, even though it's been a very difficult and emotional course?
Well, this is actually my greatest weakness, and I wanted to apologize to Kate and HR because they probably didn't disclose that on my interview. But I do really think it's important to unhide eczema. A lot of people that have this disease feel the need to really isolate themselves and try to hide their face from the world. So I'm hoping today I can give you some insight to what that feels like. So I'll go ahead, I'll start. Well, Maple, if you don't feel comfortable anywhere, if you don't feel comfortable in your own skin, you really don't feel comfortable anywhere. To set the stage, 1.6 million people, about 10% of people in the US have some form of eczema. Nearly half of AD patients experience a really mild case, and it's really easy to treat their skin with over-the-counter creams, lotions, and lifestyle changes. Unfortunately, this leads to a lot of common misconceptions about this disease. Everyone sees it, especially if it's on your face, and everyone thinks they have a solution for you. There's no PHI with AD, and a lot of time, a really common response you get from people is, oh, this one time I had eczema, and this is a common response from someone that had a food allergy or contact dermatitis. Well, my entire life, I try to fit into that group of people that fall into the mild to moderate patient population. But the real reason that I'm standing up here today is for all the other AD patients out there who unfortunately fall into the severe category, who have been so humiliated by this disease that you're too embarrassed to leave your house. I read a wonderful article in the scientific report last week linking inflammation to impulsiveness and lack of ability to focus. So for all the people that are unable to focus on higher education, for all the people that are struggling to build meaningful relationships because of your altered appearance, I am an advocate standing up here today for you. I'm sorry, my story it's one based and founded on 30 years of failure, misdiagnosis, and horrendous side effects resulting in annual hospitalizations from the off-label use of immunosuppressant medications.
So next we're just going to show a slide here.
Click on this thing first to link it. Yeah, click on the screen first and then it should link to the... Sorry for those of you on the phone, we're just trying to get the slides up so you can kind of just see a little bit about what it looks like. Back up a little bit more.
Can the folks on the phone see a slide that says 2018 on it?
Not quite yet.
Not quite
Screen
yet.
sharing.
Okay.
Pause.
Oh, okay. So for those in the room, we're just going to show us, just to give an example of, and those on the phone hopefully will be joining us shortly here, but in 2018 when Kelly had fairly clear skin and then 24 hours later was hospitalized.
It's good.
Okay. Is that,
Hope you guys can just get a clear picture of just the onset of action is extremely fast. You have no idea when this flare is going to come. You don't really get any warning as to when this is going to happen. So it's very challenging to manage. So the onset of my AD began at the early age of 2 years old. I was lucky. I was born into an upper middle class family. I had total access to resources, diets, doctors, and treatment options. My parents did everything they could to remove triggers from my life. The original school of thought around this disease was that it was caused by allergic reactions. And this was challenging because I could never really figure out why I was unable to control my allergies or have an allergy test come back consistent to find out what I was allergic to. It was essentially, my allergy test would light up. It was like I was allergic to everything. So this is really important to me because this disease, it most commonly affects children. And although it's a brief time in our overall existence, childhood really shapes who we are. And parents and caregivers, mine included, they often report feelings of embarrassment about their child's appearance, as well as frustration, helplessness, sadness, and even guilt. My mom was constantly thinking that our house wasn't allergy-proof enough, that I wasn't seeing the right doctors. When I was 6 years old, my mom was reaching out to find new treatment options. I was photographed for a medical textbook to depict a child with severe atopic dermatitis. No dermatologist would treat me because my inflammation was so severe.
okay, is the sharing back on? Can those on the phone see now the screen?
He's on there.
So here on this, we now show a slide here, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the doctors that you've seen. Were you finally able to find a doctor that would treat you, or a whole team of doctors?
It took a lot of referrals. I was constantly being referred from an allergist to a dermatologist, again, because they thought that this type of inflammation could only be triggered by someone that had severe allergies. So at age 4, I began allergy shots every week. In addition to immune therapy, I began an elimination diet. Imagine trying to keep a 4-year-old on an elimination diet. Bless you, Mom. I allergy-proofed my room. I got a medical grade air purifier. I was just basically being treated as a balloon kid, or someone that wasn't really allowed to go outside. I never quite understood this because I had never met another person so allergic to life. So this diagnosis always seemed wrong to me. And I also never met someone with allergies manifest on their skin because I had done so many allergy shots that I literally didn't even have hay fever or hives or watery eyes almost anymore. One of my biggest pros I can say to all those years of immune therapy is I can pet cats now. I love cats, it's great. But the cons was I developed a needle phobia that would later prevent me from finishing nursing school. And from this point forward, I would spend my entire life trying to fight this disease with lifestyle changes. And while having numerous other health benefits, no amount of diet or exercise really had any impact to my disease state. So you can just look through the list. This is really common for a severe atopic derm patient to have this many doctors because no one can actually help you, so you're just trying to manage the best you can. The allergist, again, we kind of went through what he recommended for me. The dermatologist got better with time. I do have a stand-up light machine, phototherapy. The sun, I always knew when I was a kid, the sun would help my eczema. I've actually heard that for some people it doesn't, but in a controlled environment with phototherapy, studies show that it is helpful. This is wet wraps. This is awful. This is where you have to like coat yourself in topical steroid cream and then sleep in organic organic cotton pajamas that are like dampened so that your skin can maintain moisture overnight. I mean, you try sleep. It's already hard enough to sleep when you're itching all night, but then to be covered in wet clothes, it's tough. And then the immunosuppressants. These are global immunosuppressants that I would later come to find out are used for organ transplant patients. That's what they were originally designed for. The naturopathic doctor, this is what I always wanted to work the most, believed in supplements. I've been on every supplement to heal a leaky gut. I've taken probiotics, vitamin A, histamines, borage oil, collagen, lithium, multivitamins. These are just a few of the supplements that I take daily to try to maintain an overall healthy state and prevent flares. Acupuncture. I've tried a bunch of different types of acupuncture. I was lucky enough to live in San Francisco. Oh, sorry. Yes. And this was the most effective type of acupuncture that I found over the years. This was actually an acupuncturist dermatologist who was certified in Shanghai. It's a rare certification. Apparently you can only get it from this one school. But she practiced an aeration technique, which is very rare. And she would place over 100 needles all over my body, and I would lay there for 30 minutes. This actually did provide relief. Unfortunately, you have to follow it with a similar therapy to the wet wraps, which is like coating yourself in cream and then wearing wet clothes, but you're supposed to do that during the day. So it wasn't very feasible long term. The nutritionists are always gonna, whether it's advertently or inadvertently, they're gonna exploit you. They're gonna tell you that you can change eczema with your diet, and it's because some people can't. Some people that have food allergies, they can change their diet and they can get rid of, acne or mild eczema. And so I've been on restrictive dieting my whole life. I've been vegan, I've been grain-free, gluten-free, soy-free, dairy-free, corn-free. I've tried to live on bone broth soup, cold-pressed juices. You will go broke. I can't tell you these are very expensive diets, and they're out of reach to most people. I was lucky enough to try them, and again, I would kind of tell people it does help to lower overall inflammation in your body, but it would just basically turn my eczema from bright red to pink. So again, minimal impact. And then after failing at all this for over 30 years, you're gonna end up meeting some new doctors. This is the psychologist and the psychiatrist. I've been on mood stabilizers, benzodiazepines, tricyclics. There's a lot. This disease impacts your mental health tremendously. It's very challenging to keep wanting to move forward when you see everyone else basically controlling their allergies and you continue to fail. There is a new doctor, I'll kind of touch back on this with the ophthalmologist later on that I see now, but he's been helping me manage the side effects of the only medication approved for this disease, which is Dupixent. And so,
I think you've already touched a little bit on this already, Kelly, but can you describe how living with this severe eczema has impacted your life?
Yeah, so because eczema is so common and most people only have a mild case, there are countless over-the-counter creams for this disease. Over my lifetime, I estimate to have spent about $30,000 on creams, lotions, and ointments, all of which failed again or provided very minimal relief. And I just use this analogy of it's like spitting into a forest fire, because that's exactly what it feels like to put lotion on an internal flame. The itch that you experience from this disease drills to your bone. It's an itch you can't scratch. And again, psychologically, this would drive a sane person mad, because they're telling you don't itch. You're gonna inoculate bacteria, pathogens, cause infections, but it itches worse than you can ever imagine. We went through what some of the things you do to control the itching, countless medications, creams. Cryotherapy is a new thing that I actually am fond of. It's where you go and you stand in this chamber and they drop it to 230 degrees and you just freeze yourself. And this helped the inflammation, this helped the itch the most. I mean, it's temporary relief. It only lasts for about maybe 15 to 30 minutes, but you're not itchy after that. You're just like, okay, fire finally, put out. The restrictive diets, again, somewhat helpful, not a solution, not for me. CellCep, MMF, this is a global immunosuppressant. Again, this is one of the drugs this and prednisone that are in the class of medication, again, used for organ transplant patients. And this was the side effect list. I've experienced every side effect from being on these medications long term. And so steroid dependency is a real thing. Once you're stuck on cortisol steroids, your body stops making cortisol. I had to be hospitalized to get off of steroids. And most of my hospitalizations were a result of opportunistic infections colonizing my immune suppressed body from having to live on these medications. And that was probably the hardest part, is that the medications that you're being prescribed to help you are causing you harm.
Right. So yeah, can you describe how having this severe eczema has impacted your life?
Yeah. Okay. So my skin flares almost never coincided with my exposure to environment or consumption of foods, despite my desperate attempt for 30 years to always correlate it. My depression and anxiety had become so severe from years of bullying that by age 18, I was institutionalized for an eating disorder, which was due to literally hundreds of failed diet plans. I thought I wasn't doing enough to control my allergies. And I found out this is common. 40% of patients with severe to moderate eczema report turning down a job or an educational opportunity due to the disease. Despite qualifying for the USDF Young Rider program, which is basically the Junior Olympics for dressage, I was forced to sell my horse and quit riding in fear that it was a trigger for my eczema. I was hospitalized for 8 days after developing an opportunistic infection, again, because I was on immunosuppressants. That almost caused me to lose my right eye. After this event, I became severely depressed and suicidal and was all too willing to accept total defeat. Luckily, I was motivated by my amazing family to never give up. And I found out there was this amazing group of people, which is every one of you sitting in this room today, that devoted their life to improving the quality and effectiveness of medication. So I went back to school. I changed my major from nursing to health science and began to learn everything I could about clinical trials.
So how has recent research in drug development helped?
So, yeah, this is huge. I'll never forget the day I was sitting at Gilead Sciences in San Francisco, and someone forwarded me an article from the Journal of Allergy and Clinical Immunology. It was the first article published proving that eczema was an autoimmune disease. So it's huge for me, you guys. I was like, man, I am not just allergic to everything. Like, I always felt, it was funny, I have a cousin who has type 1 diabetes, and I would always relate the most to her. I could never relate to a person that had allergies. So this was huge. It was Dr. Emma Yakusin, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, or Yakusai, who was an associate professor of dermatology in Mount Sinai, New York. She said in a press statement, the study is the first evolution of a treatment program that targets specific immune proteins in atopic dermatitis, and this was Dupixent or dupilumab. My AD was actually in remission during this time, and so I wasn't actually seeking treatment, but I'll never forget like the sheer joy I felt from reading this article.
So then you went on Dupixent. You want to tell us a little bit about that course and then what happened while you were taking the Dupixent?
Okay, so Dupixent is a biologic, it's a large cell molecule. It's injected subcutaneously every 2 weeks. Again, someone that has needle phobia, which is common, is actually more common than I thought. This is tough. I usually have to find someone to give me my shot. Not the greatest hurdle, but an oral medication would be huge, especially given that this disease affects children more. Like, it's really hard to have to give your kid a shot every day. I do want to talk about some of the big wins I had with Dupixent. This is the first year of my entire life I wasn't hospitalized from an atopic derm due to the side effects of immunosuppressant medication. I experienced rapid clearance within 6 weeks. I enjoyed 8 months of symptom-free living. Unfortunately, there is a known side effect of allergic conjunctivitis with this disease. Again, kind of appearance altering, was a lot tougher once I got it than I originally, thought when I signed up for. And that's when I brought in the ophthalmologist. So a lot, and he said I was the 6th patient he's seen this year. He's here at Sharp in San Diego, that he had to take off Dupixent because the conjunctivitis was so severe. Due to my medical history with the eye virus, they were like, yeah, you're a person we're gonna need to stop treatment on. That was devastating for me to have to go off of the drug. My AD did come back. I tried to get on these trials for the JAK inhibitors. I worked closely with our team here, and they didn't want to put me in a clinical trial because I had responded to Dupixent. There are patients out there who have not responded to this drug. And so I did restart it. The conjunctivitis is something I have to live with. And I have to treat with steroids, which again, I put that on my medical record that I'm allergic to those because I don't want to be colonized by bacteria anymore or become viremic. I'm nervous about it, but I think we can do better. I think we can do better than Dupixent. I think we can develop a drug that's safe, that doesn't have to be injected, that doesn't have side effects that are also appearance altering and potentially dangerous. I showed my horse for the first time this year in 13 years. Thank you to all of you who came out to support that. I do a couple things to try to, prophylactically treat the conjunctivitis. I wear these blue blocking lenses if anyone gets headaches or experiences really bad inflammation in their eyes from looking at computer screens. Something I recommend to maybe everyone. And then just use prednisolone eye drops as needed if it comes back. So I just wanted to say thank you. Thanks for listening to my story. I'm really open to questions. I hope you guys have some questions for me, and I think that's about it.
All right, well, thank you, Kelly, for sharing that story with us. It really puts us into perspective for us why we definitely need more medications and treatments for patients. At this time, I guess we can open it up. Are there any questions here? I'm not sure how the phone works. Maybe we start here in the room. Anthony has a question.
Thank you so much for sharing. So you said you were in remission. How long did that last?
So the question for those of you on the phone is, I'm the therapist here, is how long does remission last?
Can you get the microphone, Anthony, back?
Maybe the kids.
Okay, so the question was, how long does remission last? The longest time my eczema was in remission was about 6 months. It was amazing to me. I never knew why. I kind of thought it was a diet that I was on at the time. I was really into it. And then it would just come back for no reason. So it's kind of funny. The National Eczema Society tagged me in a post yesterday that was like, reasons my AD flares. And it's like, allergic reactions, unknown. And it's basically the whole pie chart is just unknown. if you look at it. And it's funny because these remissions are anywhere from a few days to a few weeks to 6 months, and you kind of have no way of knowing when it's going to come back or how long it's going to be in remission.
Why don't you repeat the question?
Okay,
if
yeah.
you don't mind.
Yeah, yeah.
Zane, go ahead.
So first off, thank you. We never knew. I'm sorry that you have to go through all that. Are you planning to join the 334201?
I actually am not. I'm very passionate about Alornab, the molecule that I'm working on currently, and I will support the Atopic Derm team as much as I can. I hope to do some patient advocacy work in this department, but I'm really happy on the early phase work, and it's a learning experience for me, so I plan to stay.
But are you planning to be a patient in the study?
I'm sorry. I didn't understand the question. I thought if I was leaving my current role for a new role. No, she asked, the question was, am I planning to be a patient in the Trazimod study? I would love to be a patient. I do believe I would love to be in your study. I don't think I can because I own stock in the company. I think that's a conflict of interest. Although it's blinded, I think maybe Katie Cohen or someone would be better as if I could be in that study. I'm not quite sure if I would legally be able to participate.
I would just add that because Kelly has such good treatment with dupilumab, that's also an exclusion criterion. You can't be on that as well. All right, Katie.
Oh, I'm not going to answer that question. I actually just have a comment. You mentioned the word failure several times, and I hope you come to realize that you're not a failure. And I think everyone in the room would agree that you're amazing and very brave to share your story, and we all have tremendous respect for you, and we really are grateful and happy that you're here.
Thanks, Katie. And just to share quickly with those on the phone, Katie Cohen just shared a comment that, we're all very thankful for her and the bravery that Kelly shared today. Sorry to paraphrase, I was not eloquent as Katie. That was a very nice comment. Thank you, Katie. Any other questions or comments for Kelly or the team here? Al has a question.
Well, actually, it's more a comment as well. So first off, Kelly, thank you for sharing that story. Just to go through what you shared from the patient perspective really means a lot, especially for me. My littlest boy, my youngest son, has eczema. It's mild, and it's right around the joints, and you talk about that itch, and I see him itching. We do like wet wraps and stuff like that, to just tell a little kid to stop itching. And then when you say that it gets down to the bone of the core, I have to look at that totally different now. So, it's, for me, I certainly appreciate you sharing that. So, because, if I tell him don't itch, he's not going to tell me, well, I can't stop it. And it gets down to the point where, he starts to bleed, and it's very tough to see that on him. And when summer comes out, he's wearing shorts and flip-flops, it's really tough to see them, in that situation. But, again, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you, Al. So for those of you on the phone, I was just sharing his story about his son who has atopic derm. It's more of a mild case, but still it's really hard for him as a parent. And I gave him a little bit of insight into what that itch feels like and how you can't really tell a person with this to stop itching. That's what they want, trust me. But it's just bone. It's a bone-chilling itch, and he just kind of was thanking me also for giving more insight into what his son is going through, and so many kids go through. And I just want to emphasize why this program is so important. This has profound effects on childhood development, and I hope to be a part of that movement to find a cure or treatment for it, at least.
Also, one other comment. If you need some 334, I know where to get it.
So he actually made a joke that if you need 334, he knows where to get it. Al's in drug supply, for those of you who don't know. But Yeah, I'm so excited about etrasimod and that you guys are going into this disease space. It means the world to me.
Keisha?
Well, first, I'm Keisha Baskerville. I'm standing here on the stage. So Kelly, thank you. It definitely gives another perspective. A lot of us are working on a lot of different projects. So, when people hear, oh, you're working on atopic derm, it honestly gets lessened. So, thank you for giving me another perspective on it and, giving more meaning to, the program that I am working on. But one thing I will ask is we've heard from, different investigators, study coordinators, the appearance versus the itch. What's worse?
Ooh, that's a tough call. This question comes from Kisa. She's our lead study manager for the Atopic Derm program, and she's asking a question regarding appearance versus itch. So which worse? They're both top of my list, 50-50. Like, I know that when you itch it, you're inoculating that bacteria again, or rubbing it, you're stimulating the inflammation. So the itching causes the appearance to worsen. So I guess, logically you'd want to stop the itch first to then hopefully correct the appearance. But, the impact to the patient, they're both detrimental. Yeah.
Add on to the question.
Okay.
I'll take it, thanks.
Thank you again, Kelly, very much for the courage to sit where you were sitting and giving us the inspiration to remind us of why we do what we do every day, so thank you again. I have a question for you about Dupixent and the fact that you've got access to it. How easy or difficult was it for you to get your healthcare providers as well as insurance companies to give you access to the drug?
Great question.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you, Anand. So it was almost impossible, I'm going to say right now. So I went to Kaiser, got new insurance, come to Kaiser Hospital, sent all of my medical records. This is 30 years of medical history I sent them. My parents keep very detailed records. I was very lucky. I struggled to get my doctor to review the records. Once she finally did review it, I still had to fail all conventional therapies not before she could write. The doctor was willing to write for Dupixent. The insurance company would not cover Dupixent, which is $2,000 a shot, by the way. Again, you're taking this bi-weekly. So just to give you, the insurance company wouldn't cover it unless I had failed all conventional therapies within the last year. So I had to start over with wet wraps and diets through Kaiser. I even went and achieved 30 signatures because I made Kaiser buy me my own stand-up light machine. They were requiring me to go into the doctor twice a week and to get light therapy. I had to fail light therapy. I had to go back on immunosuppressants, which I was terrified of. It took almost 6 months of fighting the insurance companies before they approved my Dupixent. Then it becomes worse. Not every pharmacy carries Dupixent. I have to go through a mail order pharmacy. Again, these are more hoops that I believe families that aren't in upper middle class probably aren't even going to know how to manipulate the system to get to this point. It's not easy, and it's very, I would imagine it's very common for people to just give up, or if their eczema goes into remission, to just maybe stop seeking out the treatment. I beat myself up about it, not having started trying to get Dupixent when I was in remission. I waited till a flare, and then again had to continue to fail before they would cover it. So thank you.
Any other final questions or comments? So I guess I'll just close then and say thank you very much on behalf. We've heard it again. We're very, very grateful for that patient perspective. I think that even I, as I joined this program, did not understand how impactful it can be. So it is very, very helpful. I think the other thing I would note, and I'm pleased to have gotten to know Kelly a little bit over the last few months, and that even though she's on Dupixent and has great relief from that, she still does phototherapy. She still does moisturizers. It's not,
it's not a cure. It's not.
There's no such thing as a cure right now, right?
I still use my light machine. I'm still always trying new lotions. I've just been on restrictive diets my whole life that I just feel it's going to be a part of who I am. So yeah, it's not a cure, it's treatment, and I think we can do better.
Well, thank you everyone
thanks, Kelly.
for joining us today.